First of all, I think the Congressional Black Caucus is to be given a lot of credit for actually getting the jobs question of our community on the agenda. The Congressional Black Caucus. I had the opportunity to chair the Jobs Task Force and take these job fairs and town halls on the road. You have heard from our chairman about the people who stood in line, the people who became ill in Atlanta, trying to get a chance to talk with an employer, the 10,000 people that showed up in Los Angeles, all of that. But what I want to share with you, Alexis, is what I gleaned from going to all of those job fairs and watching particularly the young people who had graduated from college who could not find a job. They are disappointed. People are growing angrier and angrier, and they're losing hope. When we were in Atlanta, we had a plenary session, and we tried to engage the people sitting in that room prior to them going out to talk with the employers. They sat there and they glared at us as if to say, I came here to try and get a job, but I don't really believe that you all are going to help us. We don't really believe that you're doing enough in Washington, and we don't believe the president knows what's going on out here. That's basically what we heard. And so, by the time we got to, well, that was after I think we had gone to Detroit. When we were in Detroit, Detroit is a city where 50% of the schools have been closed down. They have lost 50% of the population over the last 10 years. Not only do you have boarded up whole communities, schools that have been closed down, joblessness, but you had a lot of anger. All of those clips that you saw on television where I talked about, are you ready to unleash us? It was to confront what a lot of people are feeling, and that is this. We love the president, we want him to be successful, but does he feel our pain? Does he understand what's going on out here? And I said, it's time to have this conversation. And because we dared to challenge to have the conversation, we've put black unemployment on the international agenda, and people now know the crisis and the pain that is going on in our community. So what are we going to do? We're pleased that the president has a jobs proposal. Now we got to trace it and we got to track it. We got to trace it and we got to track it because strange things happen in the legislative process. We don't want this to end up being just a tax cut bill only. We want investment in our infrastructure to build the roads and the streets and the bridges and to create real jobs for people. Alexis, one of the reasons this unemployment is so terribly high, it is because African Americans are not at the table almost anywhere anymore. We are off the agenda. And I can point out to you how we increasingly have gotten off the agenda in the response to request for proposal process. What happens is whether that money goes to the governors or to the states or to the cities, now we're in this so-called fair process where you respond to requests for proposal. The big boys, the Association of General Contractors, they get these proposals because they have people who do nothing but sit in the back room, well-funded, to respond. And the money does not get into the communities the way it should. A lot of people said we don't feel it when we had the stimulus package. You don't feel it because the big companies ripped it off and you didn't get a chance to get a part of it. And so, we're on the agenda now, but we've got to show up. We've got to show up. The Tea Party shows up. The Tea Party has intimidated everybody. Yes, I was displayed in national media telling them where to go. And I mean that. I mean that. We have to show people that we have no fear. Don't mistake the silence for intimidation. We are trying to be respectful. We're trying to make sure that our president has every opportunity to exercise the power of his office. And while he's doing that, and he's been very nice about it, he's been on the other side of the aisle talking with people. He's invited them up to the White House to have beer. He's invited them to come and watch the Super Bowl games. He's done all of that. And when they eat his food and drink his beer and leave, then they go and try and kill him in the Congress of the United States. And so, you gotta fight. You will not win this battle without fighting. The big boys have ripped off America. The Wall Street gangsters created the subprime loan. They literally tricked people into signing on the dotted line. Our homes are being foreclosed on, and they try to make us think there's something wrong with us because they're taking our homes. That was our wealth. That was most of the wealth that we had. And so, we have to confront the fact that the banks and the financial institutions are flush with money. They have money, they made money because we bailed them out. We bailed them out with the taxpayers' dollars, and we're not getting a return on our money. Not only are we not getting a return on our money, when we bailed them out with this over $750 billion, we have a lot of our young professionals on Wall Street, in the financial services markets, who wanted to play. They had lots of money for consultancies. They had money for TARP. They had money for TALP. They had money for all of these. These brilliant young investment bankers and asset managers who wanted to play could not get in. They did not benefit at all from all of the dollars that were spent to implement TALP and TARP and all of that. So I just give you kind of this brief overview about where we are. And of course, we have great hopes for this bill. We've got to fight for it. I know that the president meant African American when he said disadvantage. We're helping to bring this language to the forefront. We're helping to the administration to understand that if you want to help the black community, you got to target some resources. You can't take the money to Iowa and other places without taking the money into the inner cities and the rural communities where you feel all of the pain. Is that right? You've got to make sure, unless you target the resources, you're not going to deal with the problems. And so we can't be ashamed. We cannot be afraid to talk. I love the president, but I will ask the president, where's the money? Where's the money? Where's it going? What is happening with it? And how do we get a piece of the action? So let's work with the bill. Let's trace, let's target, and let's do the fighting. Now you're on Capitol Hill here. You're coming to the Congressional Black Caucus Week. When the Tea Party came, they blocked all of Capitol Hill. And they even spat on some of our members as they walked into the Cannon building. I want you in everything that you do to come up, go and talk with some legislator. There's no organized operation for lobbying as such, but 6 Republicans said to me after we came off the road, wow, I didn't know it was that bad. Gee, we saw the lines. And Michelle Bachmann even had the nerve in her debate to talk about how high the unemployment is in the African American community. Not that I think she cares so much, but she saw a space there that was not being talked about. And so she took up the space. We don't need Michelle Bachmann or anybody else to use this as an opportunity to get at the president. We need the president to take the ball and run with it. And run with it with the support of his base, with the support of the people who love him and who care about him and who's going to be there for him no matter what. And we need all of us to get behind him, to show up, to be not only on Capitol Hill, you got to be in these school boards. When that money goes to repair these schools, the big contractors are going to rip it off again unless you're there. One of the things we've done in job creation is we have something called the FS10. You know what that is? The 10 black members who serve on the Financial Services Committee. And we decided at one point to boycott the committee. When we boycotted the committee, you know what we got? $8 billion in neighborhood stabilization money. We got not only money for unemployed homeowners, and we were able to create the offices of minority and women inclusion in all of the financial services offices. What you're going to learn here this weekend is that the SEC, the FDIC, the Treasury, all of the financial services offices, the OCC, Fannie and Freddie, all now have these offices of minority and women inclusion with the mandate that they must increase diversity. We found a way to write the legislation to get around the so-called affirmative action laws that are outlawed, that would force them to have to review everything that goes on in these agencies to make sure there is diversity, and that includes contracts that can be turned back. And so we are focused on jobs, we're focused on contracts, and we're focused on entrepreneurship. We want the banks and financial institutions and Wall Street to invest in our money. They have not been challenged. They have not been taken on. They have run rampant over this country. They all are flush with money. And if you're not angry, something's wrong with you. Thank you very much.